I'm Lee Webb, and welcome to our special report, The Middle East in Crisis. Here's what's happening today. The West edges towards a possible military confrontation with Libya as the U.S. positions warships in the region, and United Kingdom leaders talk about a possible no-fly zone. Saudi Arabia has sent dozens of tanks to Bahrain to help the government keep anti-government protests from getting out of control there. And in Iran, security forces clash with demonstrators angry over the arrest of two opposition leaders. We have a roundtable of reporters and analysts to help us understand what's happening over there. From Jerusalem, we have Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. In D.C., CBN terrorism analyst Eric Stakelbeck. And we hope to have Jonathan Schanzer from the Foundation for the Defense of Democracy join us from our D.C. Bureau a bit later on. Joining me here on the Center, reporters John Waggy and George Thomas. George, the military confrontation that we talk about, is it possible that it could be something over and above establishing a no-fly zone?
It could potentially be. I mean, the United States is talking about sending humanitarian aid workers to the border of Tunisia and Libya. But you know what? If you look at the map today, and I don't know if my cameraman, Mr. Abdallah, can catch this. If you look at the map of the Middle East today, we have here, in essence, we've got Algeria. I'm looking at the map here. We've got Algeria, Libya, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the tiny Gulf state of Bahrain. Now there are reports of potential demonstrations in Morocco. But what you see here today is a part of the Middle East that is so strategic to not just Muslims in the Middle East, but to the United States and the West. And these protests continue. The longer they continue, the more uncertainty we have in the region, and the more challenges this White House will face in trying to shape a narrative going forward as it relates to the issues of democracy.
Chris, what are you hearing in Israel today? Is there that sense, a growing sense of uncertainty and concern there?
Most definitely, Lee. Very much so. I think they're feeling isolated and surrounded, and the growing influence of Iran that's in effect surrounding Israel on the north with Hezbollah, the south with Hamas. And now that the two Iranian warships have gone through the Suez Canal last week, this sense that even directly Iran can threaten Israel from the Mediterranean.
Chris, thank you, and we'll be checking back with you as well. Eric Stakelbeck in D.C., when we talk about Egypt last week and the unseating of Hosni Mubarak and now a sense that they could be going to some sort of democratic type government in Egypt, we keep hearing this term, the Muslim Brotherhood. For the sake of those of us who need to take Islam 101, tell us what the Muslim Brotherhood is and why we should be concerned about it.
Well, Lee, the Muslim Brotherhood is the granddaddy of them all when it comes to Islamic terrorist groups. Now, they were founded in 1928 in Egypt. They were eventually banned in that country because of terrorist activities and also because they assassinated a few Egyptian leaders. Now, their goals, their motto, Lee, their very own motto reads in part, "Jihad is our way, dying in the way of Allah. Martyrdom is our highest hope." This is not a moderate organization, regardless of what the mainstream media has been telling us over the past few months. And look, their goals, Lee, at the end of the day, are Islamic Sharia law in Egypt, to make Egypt a radical Taliban-style theocracy, and also to reestablish what's called the Islamic Caliphate. Now, that's a worldwide, essentially, Lee, a worldwide Islamic state. To give you an idea of how dangerous this group is, Lee, Osama bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the 9/11 mastermind, all three of these men, before they were with al-Qaeda, were with the Muslim Brotherhood.
Eric, are they trying to portray themselves, soft pedal that radical Islamic nature that you're talking about in order to gain control? Is that their MO, so to speak?
Lee, that is their game. At the end of the day, the Muslim Brotherhood and al-Qaeda, they share the same end game. They share the same goals. Sharia, the Caliphate, jihad, but they have a different way of getting there. Whereas al-Qaeda has a win-now strategy. We want to kill you and blow you up right now. The Muslim Brotherhood, on the other hand, is very patient. They're very adept at insinuating themselves into government, into the media, into very sensitive positions. They've done that in Egypt. They've done it in the U.S., and their whole goal is to bring down a country from within, and oftentimes they do it through the political process.
And I think it's also interesting, just to chime on what Eric was talking about, today in the Middle East, and especially the riots in Egypt, I saw people, undercover footage of Muslim Brotherhood folks who were out on the streets holding up a Quran and saying Allahu Akbar, and you want Islamic Sharia law, and a Muslim Brotherhood leader says, listen, shh, don't do that. We don't want to show the Western press the book of Allah. We don't want to be talking about Sharia law. Not now, not now. And I think John has seen this and can testify to the challenges that the Muslim Brotherhood will have going forward to maintain, as Eric talked about, these strict Islamic principles while trying to present a face that looks moderate.
Absolutely, but the Muslim Brotherhood is going to be tested by that first election that comes along, because if they have the clout that many people are predicting, then they may be able to go faster with this openly saying what they want. But for now, they're trying to keep it under wraps.
Chris, is that what your understanding is about the Muslim Brotherhood's modus operandi as it goes forward in Egypt?
Exactly, Lee, and I'd like to add one more point about that. A lot of people have turned to the Egyptian army and see that they'll be a bulwark against any Islamist takeover. I was talking to a former Egyptian prisoner, actually, in Mubarak's jails, and he was saying, look out for the infiltration by the Muslim Brotherhood into the Egyptian army. It's happened in Turkey, and he says it will happen, or it could happen, very likely in Egypt as well.
All right, Chris, thank you for that insight. We'll be checking back with you and talking to John Waggy, George Thomas here in our studio, as well as Eric Stackelback, who's in our D.C. bureau. We keep hearing a lot about the Shiites and the Sunnis. They are different types of Muslims, and we need to explain why that's significant and what it means as we analyze what's going on in the Middle East. But first, Mark Martin has the top stories from our CVN newsroom.
Lee, House Republicans are try and prevent a partial shutdown of the government. Temporary funding runs out Friday. GOP's stopgap bill would keep the government running for 2 weeks. That would buy more time for longer-term budget negotiations between the Republican House, the Democratic Senate, and President Obama. Democrats have been threatening to block Republican efforts to cut the massive federal deficit. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker unveils his 2-year spending plan today, and that could ratchet up the tension between Republican lawmakers in that state and union workers who've been protesting for 2 weeks. The full plan is expected to include deep cuts for schools and city governments to help close a $3.6 billion shortfall. 14 Wisconsin Senate Democrats are still protesting the budget by hiding out in Illinois. The governor says that could force him to lay off state workers. Maryland's House of Delegates may vote as soon as this Friday on legalizing gay marriage. After the Senate passed it last week, supporters say they have 68 or 69 of the 71 votes they need in the House already locked up. But opponents say they'll immediately begin a campaign to get the issue on the ballot so Maryland voters can decide if they want gay marriage in their state. 31 states have put gay marriage up for a vote before the public, and in all 31 states, voters rejected it. At least 6 people are dead after violent storms ripped through the country's midsection. The storms left behind massive damage and destruction. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, severe thunderstorms pounded the region. Dangerously high winds brought down trees and destroyed this historic brick building. Power was knocked out to thousands. In Ohio, all the state's 88 counties have been swamped by flooding. The National Weather Service says storms on Monday produced tornadoes in Indiana.
I thought, wow, that looks really like Iran in 19.
Okay, we thank Mark Martin for that brief news update. Before we go to our break, I would like to bring George Thomas back in as we discuss the situation in the Middle East. We keep hearing Shiites and Sunni Muslim.
Yeah.
Before you explain the distinction between those two Islamic groups, explain which countries, tell us which countries are Shiite And the others that are Sunni.
In essence, if you look at the totality of the Muslim world, the majority of the Muslims today are Sunni Muslims, and you've got a minority that are part of the Shia community. In essence, if you look at this map, we've got anywhere from Morocco, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Yemen. They're predominantly all Sunni countries. The one country that has a sizable, the biggest Shia population
is Iran.
And you can, and we'll talk about this in the next segments with John and Eric, but the influence of Iran today, their ability to spread their tentacles in this uprising is significant, and we have to keep a very close eye on it.
And Iraq, we need to point out that Iraq is about predominantly Shiite.
That's correct, yes.
But the Sunnis still have a sizable influence there. Right. We want to talk more about that. We're going to continue our discussion with the situation in the Middle East. We'll have more from our panel of experts, plus a look back at the Iranian Revolution of 1979. Please stay with us.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
These are the greatest stories ever told. Presented by Academy Award winner Charlton Heston.
Thus saith the Lord of Israel, let my people go.
Join Charlton Heston as he travels the sacred lands of the Bible.
I'm going to take you with me on a journey exploring the stories in the Bible and the ancient land where they happened. This is said to be the very garden. This, the very rock where Jesus prayed for strength.
Now the Bible comes to life like never before. Time Life presents Charlton Heston's The Bible.
And Moses cast the tablets from his hands.
Praised by critics, this landmark TV series is now available on digitally remastered DVDs. You'll be inspired by the greatest stories from the Old and New Testaments, enhanced by historic works of art. Get Charlton Heston Presents the Bible on 4 DVDs for $49.99. Call with your credit card and save $10.
And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son.
And that's not all. You'll also get a free bonus DVD that takes you behind the scenes. And if you call in the next 10 minutes, we'll ship for free. That's an additional savings of nearly $7.
For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forever and ever.
Call now to get Charlton Heston's The Bible on 5 DVDs for just $39.99. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll ship for free.
Now therefore go, and I will be with thee.
Call 1-800-748-5167 to order Charlton Heston Presents the Bible for $39.99 and receive free shipping when you call in the next 10 minutes with your credit card.
I thought, wow, that looks really like Iran in 1979, and I couldn't help it. You know, you go talk to Iranians. I've been talking to Iranians here in Israel, and they agreed with me. It looked identical.
Welcome back to our special coverage of the crisis in the Middle East. We're joined by Chris Mitchell, our Jerusalem bureau chief. And Chris, that was an interview you did with a woman in Israel last week. Is that right?
Just a few days ago. That's right, Lee. Her name was Marina Nehmat, and she wrote a book called The Prisoner of Tehran when she was 16 years old. She was arrested by the Islamic regime at that time. And what she says, the parallels that she sees between what happened in 1979 and what just happened a few weeks ago in Egypt is really striking and compelling. It began as a cry for freedom and democracy back then. It began as a cry for freedom and democracy in Egypt. And she's very concerned that just like what happened in 1979, Egypt in 2011 could go back to an Islamic regime.
Well, let's talk about that. And I wanted to go back, Chris, to ask George Thomas before the break. We were talking about the distinction in Islam between Shia and Sunni Muslims. Explain, if you will, George, briefly the difference between the two.
Yeah, I mean, in essence, you've got the majority of the Muslim world that comprises of Sunni Muslims. You look at all the Middle East Arab countries, majority Sunni population with some smattering of Shia populations within them. But I think John also has this very critical point we were talking before the break about the influence, how Israel today, with our man Chris Mitchell in Jerusalem, sitting in Jerusalem, John's point off camera was, should the Israelis begin to treat Egypt like it does Iran?
Well, absolutely. And the other point there is treating Iran the way that the Western world is treating Libya now. I mean, it's Hosni Mubarak out of there, Muammar Gaddafi out of there. And the people who are in the streets of Iran today fighting. The Shiites are uprising against their government. And what are we hearing from the Western world? Yeah, maybe they can only take one at a time, but...
And in fact, I'm looking at the Twitter feeds just coming out of Iran. We're talking about these demonstrations in Iran. We've got people here, protests in Mashhad, people chanting Allahu Akbar. Another tweet says, UN must declare Khamenei, Ahmadinejad, rest of the gang criminals and order their arrest. So while we look at the demonstrations in Libya, there is this ongoing battle for the soul of Iran.
Eric, if Iran should have another revolution, is there a chance it could have a more optimistic and positive outcome this time?
I think absolutely, Lee. It can't get any worse than the current Iranian regime. Literally, it cannot get any worse. And John Waggy makes an excellent point. Back in June 2009, we had 1 million Iranians in the streets of Tehran. Unprecedented. Since 1979, unprecedented. What did President Obama do? He came out, Lee, and said, I quote, "We don't want to meddle." A golden opportunity was lost there.
Eric?
And now we see in the past month with Egypt and Libya, Obama helped push Mubarak out the door when he knew
Eric,
the most
unfortunately,
likely...
we're out of time in this segment. We'll come back to you to complete that. We'll be right back.
Lee.
What makes the miracles of Jesus even more miraculous? Standing where they happened, in Israel. Come explore Jerusalem, where Jesus opened blind eyes. Visit the hills of Galilee, where Jesus fed the multitude. Stroll through Capernaum, where Jesus lived and taught and healed. To learn more about standing where it all happened in Israel, visit www.goisrael.com. Come visit Israel.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Call our toll-free number or visit our website. A free idea kit and DVD will be sent to your home so you can discover all the benefits of owning your own pool. Compared to traditional pools, endless pools are simple to install, easy to maintain, and economical to run. Our precision-engineered pools enable you to swim or exercise against a smooth current that adjusts to any speed and ability. Endless pools are perfect for year-round health and fitness, relaxation, and family fun. Our free idea kit and DVD will show you how easy it is for the whole family to enjoy a pool right in your backyard or home. An endless pool or an endless pool swim spa can become a showplace for your home. Call our toll-free number or visit the website to find out more about endless pools. The free idea kit will show you just how easy it is to be able to swim at home.
What makes the miracles of Jesus even more miraculous? Standing where they happened, in Israel. Come sail the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus calmed a raging storm. Experience Jerusalem, where Jesus restored a paralyzed man. Explore Capernaum, where Jesus spoke a centurion servant into health. To learn more about standing where it all happened in Israel, visit goisrael.com. Come visit Israel.
Welcome back, and we continue our discussion about the crisis in the Middle East. Before the break, Eric Stackelback was making a point about Iran. Eric, let's go back to you so you can complete your thought.
Lee, here it is, the contrast, and John Waggy made a great point. 2009, 1 million Iranians in the streets of Tehran, calling for democracy, calling for freedom, calling for the overthrow of a diabolical regime that's been a sworn enemy of America for 30 years. President Obama's response? He didn't want to meddle. Fast forward to just a month ago in Egypt. Hosni Mubarak, not a good guy, repressive at home, but good for America and good for Israel. A guy who kept the peace treaty with Israel for 32 years, a cold peace, but a peace nonetheless. A guy who opposed Hamas, opposed al-Qaeda. What does President Obama do in that situation? He helps push Mubarak out the door when he had to know, Lee, Obama had to know that the most likely beneficiary of a post-Mubarak Egypt would be the Muslim Brotherhood. It just doesn't add up. And in Libya, total silence on the most part from President Obama as Gaddafi, a notorious anti-American terrorist, is on the ropes.
Chris, you wanted to chime in on that comment.
Yeah, one added point, Lee, on the whole Sunni-Shiite divide, and basically part of the theology is that they have a difference of who should be the successor to Muhammad between the Shiites and the Sunnis. That's one theological difference they have. There's a real deep animus between them. The analogy you can look at is the Roman Catholics and the Protestants in Northern Ireland, how they hate one another. But they will join together forces if they have a common enemy. You can see that example right now. Iran, which is Shiite, is supporting the Sunni Hamas group in Gaza. So you could see a linkage between Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood, even though they are Shiite and Sunni.
Well, Chris, you bring up this talk about theology, and Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has a very interesting theology, George, that you've researched on occasion. Tell us about his end times view and why we should be concerned about it.
In fact, last Friday he took to downtown Tehran, and in the midst of about 5,000 Iranians chanting for the Mahdi, the 12th Imam, their version of an Islamic Messiah. And he took to the podium and in essence said there is, quote, a divine awakening today that is sweeping across the Middle East. And he went on to say that that divine awakening has the hand of the 12th Imam, the Mahdi. And
these are people who are actually looking down for the Mahdi in that hole there?
Ahmadinejad and millions of Shiites believe that at the bottom of this well, which is in essence very close to the holy city of Qom in Iran, that at the bottom of that well there is this Imam called the Mahdi, the 12th Imam, who disappeared at the beginning of the early 9th century, and in essence will come back, and in the midst of chaos and war, he would come back and redeem and bring peace and justice to the entire world. And Ahmadinejad, folks need to realize, he is a very deeply spiritual man, and he believes in this Islamic eschatology based on Shiite tradition.
So he believes that Ahmadinejad believes when the Mahdi returns, he will bring peace, and that Iran will be the centerpiece of all that happens in the world?
In essence, but also that Jesus, who the Muslims call the Prophet Isa, that when he returns, when the Mahdi returns, that the Prophet Isa will come, they will rule together. The Prophet Isa would destroy the Antichrist, will get married, have children, rule for about 40 years, and then in essence, the Jesus would defeat the Antichrist, kill all the Jews, break all the crosses, kill all the pigs, and you would have this rule with the Mahdi and Jesus Christ.
It sounds bizarre, and it's all the more reason that why we as Christians and those of us who love His Word need to pray. We'll talk about how we can pray when we come back. Please stay with us.
Millions of women worldwide love Bare Minerals.
This is smooth, it's nice, and it covers. I like that.
Only Bare Minerals looks like beautiful bare skin, while it covers whatever you want it to. And now you can get our latest kit with our totally new, totally spill-proof Click Lock Go Foundation. For over 75% off retail, our new kit comes with Bare Minerals Foundation in the shade that's just right for you. Warmth for a healthy glow. Mineral Veil, the ultimate finishing touch, and Bare Minerals Flawless Application Brush. Call now and get 3 full-size gifts worth $57.95 free. Purchased separately, you'd spend over $120. Our original Get Started kit was a great deal at 2 payments of $29.99. But now you can get all this for just 1 payment of $29.99. Save over $90 and get a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Call 1-800-376-4174. Ask how you can receive this handy compact. Call 1-800-376-4174 now.
It's impossible to close an open can with a pop top. Open cans spill in the fridge. What a mess. And open cans lose their fizz. What a waste. Introducing Bottle Top. It turns your can into a bottle with the snap of a cap. Open metal cans can't travel. What a waste. Bottle Top turns your can into a bottle that's perfectly portable. You can't do this with an open can. Bottle Top lets any soda keep its carbonation. Look, bugs are gross, but Bottle Top protects your drink from insects. When you're done drinking, just pop it off. Rinse under hot water and reuse. Bottle Top keeps drinks from spilling. Now get 6 colored Bottle Tops for just $10. Call now and get 6 more. Plus, we'll send you the Can Top Popper. Just pay separate shipping and handling. You get 12 amazing Bottle Tops, plus the Can Top Popper, all for just $10.
Call 1-800-377-9176. But hurry, call now. We're giving away a bonus 6 more Bottle Tops and the Can Top Popper with today's orders. That's 1-800-377-9176. Call now.
As we conclude our discussion today on the crisis in the Middle East, John, you have some news about Prime Minister Netanyahu visiting northern Israel today.
He was in the north, and he was basically had a message for Western leaders who were so eager to get on the topple Mubarak bandwagon and the topple Gaddafi bandwagon now. And with all the people in the streets of Tehran, Netanyahu is telling the West, look, you've got to treat Iran the same way you're treating Libya and the same way you treated Mubarak. Welcome the regime change. And, you know, so far we've had mostly silence from the Western leaders, you know.
Chris, why would that be, in your estimation?
Well, I don't think they want to challenge Iran. I think Obama, Eric made a great point that Obama had a golden opportunity in 2009 to support the people who wanted to overthrow the regime. And just to add to John's point, too, Israel's very concerned about a recent IAEA report that came out just this last weekend that said Iran is continuing to develop its nuclear weapon and try to weaponize it and also put it on a missile. So that's very disheartening for those here in Israel. And they're sounding the alarm, like Netanyahu is, about Iran's danger.
Eric?
Lee, when we talk about this, and George just laid it out beautifully, the 800-pound gorilla in the room when we talk about Iran is the ideology. Western governments don't seem to grasp that when Ahmadinejad talks about wiping Israel off the map, when he talks about the return of the Mahdi, he really believes it. And when the Iranians talk about using that Israel is a one-bomb country, that one nuclear weapon could obliterate Israel, but Iran could survive a nuclear counterattack, they really believe that. They are willing to sacrifice millions of Iranians for the greater good, in their view, of wiping the Zionist entity off the map. And by the way, Lee, Pentagon reports, our U.S. Pentagon reports here have said that by the year 2015, Iran may have the capability to reach the United States with missiles.
George?
I think in all of this discussion, as we look at this great divide between Sunni and the Shia world, there's a very famous saying in the Muslim world that I know John, my colleague Chris, and Eric are familiar with, and it goes like this: me against my brother, me and my brother against our father, my family against my cousins and the clan against the tribe against the world, and all of us against the infidel. And the infidel in this case obviously is the United States and Israel. And how the Sunnis and the Shiites, the Muslim Brotherhood and the Iranian regime, Shia, can come together, I think this unites them at the end of the day.
We are running out of time. Chris, in 20 seconds, tell us how we can pray for this situation.
Pray for the gospel to go throughout this region, Lee. I think that would be one of the main things. Pray for the protection of the believers here, and pray for boldness. Many of the believers, I was just hearing a report today from a man who's been into Iran 19 times in the last 10 years or so, that there's about 1 million to 2 million believers in Iran. They need prayer for boldness, that they would evangelize and they would keep the gospel going.
Chris, John, George, and Eric, thank you for your insights. Please stay with us as we continue to cover this situation in the Middle East. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Fresh, wholesome juice. There's nothing like it. But until now, you had to stress and strain and make a huge mess to get just a little bit of juice. But not anymore, thanks to the Jack LaLanne Power Juicer. You can drop in whole vegetables, whole fruits, apples, oranges, celery, cucumbers with no chopping, no slicing, no struggling. And thanks to the Power Juicer's revolutionary patented extraction technology, you can get up to 30% more juice than those other juicers. Doctors recommend we get 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. With the Power Juicer, you'll be drinking your recommended daily allowance in in just seconds. And the pulp from the extra-large pulp catcher can be used to make pasta sauces, healthy desserts, and much more. The Power Juicer is dishwasher safe, so cleanup's a breeze, and the powerful motor is guaranteed for life. Order the Jack LaLanne Power Juicer now for just 2 easy payments of $49.90. And as part of this special TV offer, we'll also send you this amazing recipe guide filled with over 60 of Jack's favorite recipes. Try the Jack LaLanne Power Juicer in your home risk-free for 30 days. If you're not completely satisfied, send it back for a full refund of the purchase price, no questions asked. Call now.
I was always on the cusp of exploding. So I figured out if I get rid of the wife and the kids, then I can just send them money. Went to the junk drawer, I got the Bible out, put the tape in, and I believe that moment, Christ made sense. There is no earthly reason why we're still married. It is a divine intervention, and I thank God, and showing me what love, grace, and forgiveness looks like.